Hey there everybody, Boyd here with you, and welcome to part 2 of our Tamiya 135th scale Tiger 1 build we're doing for the classic tribute build for Chris Cortell. This has been a really fun kit to work on. I want to say the kit goes together really fast too. I've got about maybe 5 or 6 hours in this whole entire thing. I've been working on it a couple hours in my spare time in the evenings, and I'm just about finished with it here. Had a lot of fun working on it. I learned a lot about armor building. This is only like the second tank I've built. And so I was going around all the different YouTube channels and looking at, picking up some tips from the various armor builders out there, and I learned a few things. And then I was looking at a lot of old video footage of real Tiger tanks and pictures and stuff. And when I started out with my build here, the plan was I wanted to make it pretty much a pristine tank. But then I thought about it and I thought, well, part of the fun of building armor and tanks is that you get to do a lot of weathering on it. So I decided to kind of go in a medium with my weathering, and not totally worn out, but a tank that's definitely been seeing some use out in the field. And this will look pretty comparable to the Sherman that I built a little while ago, about the same level of weathering I did on that, so they'll match up pretty good together having them on display. Those are my two favorite tanks from World War II, the Tiger and the Sherman. And but this is a great kit. It's really, from what I could find out doing all the research that I've learned a little bit, and I don't know nearly as much as a lot of these armor experts out there, but you can find a lot of information. It appears to be a really accurate kit, and comes with pretty much all the detail that a Tiger should have on it. And as I said, I really always liked the early production version because it had these extra details on the rear, which we'll show you in just a second. But the kit's coming together really nice. I've been doing a different, using different mediums on the weathering and everything. I started off with a base coat, and then I went and started using this rust medium that I have here. It's I can't tell you the brand of this anymore because the label's worn off. I've shown it several times on some of my old videos. It's a actual real oxide type, super fine. It's way finer than if you take artist chalk and grind that up. It's way finer than that, and it makes really super realistic looking rust and corrosion and stuff. So you can see I've been kind of going around it here, putting rust on the fenders and the cables that we have here, and some areas in the back by the exhaust and all that. I'm really happy with how the detail looks on the back here. We did these had a great big diesel engine in them, and all the pictures I saw and stuff of the old Tigers, they had this top part here, the exhaust X, always looked black with soot and everything on there. And you could even do that kind of glossy if you wanted to, have that dripping down, because diesel engines oftentimes will put out a really wet, slimy, exhaust stain all over everything too. So because there's a lot of unburnt oil that's in that spews out of there, so you could do that look too. But I've got it kind of looking like this because I've got it looking like it was driving through a little bit of dusty roads and stuff like that. So I figured that wetness would probably get kind of absorbed by the dust and all that. But you can see we've got this really cool air intake system here on the early Tiger that they got rid of later on. But to me, it gives you these flexible hoses and everything that you put on that makes it look really super real. And without any photo etch parts or anything, I think this is a really nice kit. They give you some really fine detail parts on this, and it turned out really nice. We've got our mortar launchers here and all our little details. I'm not sure what all this stuff is. Again, I'm not an expert on this armor stuff, but our tools and everything we've got all put on there. Did a lot of work on the gun. The gun comes in two pieces. Some of the guys out there recommended getting a metal gun, but I worked on this pretty hard. Puttied it and sanded it about 2 or 3 times, and I re-scribed all the lines on it, and I've got it looking pretty close. It'd be pretty hard to tell it apart from a metal gun right now. It looks really nice. And so you can put a little bit of elbow grease into something like that and get the kit parts to look pretty good. Again, I had to stay box stock on this. I'm going to enter this in the model contest next year here at the Fiesta show, and there's a category for box stock, so I can't add anything to this, but you can modify any of the kit parts. So what I did here on the fenders, you could see in that slideshow there, they have these scribe lines on here. So I just took a really sharp hobby knife and just kept scribing on them until I got them separated. And then I mounted them on there a little bit askew, so that they didn't look totally perfect. I noticed that detail a lot on all the Tiger Tank videos that I was watching. Sometimes they were completely torn off or dented or ripped and stuff like that. I didn't take it quite that far, but I just gave them a little bit of different, so they looked, you could definitely tell they were separate panels, and just kind of carried out that theme all the way around here. Used the rust on the cables on the top and everything. Used all craft acrylic paints to paint the tank commander figure there. I'm real happy with how that turned out. And again, this being a tribute to Chris Cortell, I want to mention Chris on that. I learned so much from Chris about figure painting and the use of these craft acrylic paints that I've gotten a lot better at painting figures and stuff, and I kind of surprised myself at even somebody this small that I was able to do a halfway decent job on it. That's the main thing I was worried about when I was going to build this kit, if how good a job I was going to do on the tank commander figure, but he turned out really nice. I've got his little red details on his jacket lapels and all that. He came out really nice. But so again, this is a really fantastic kit. It's very accurate from what I can see and from what I've learned. One of the things I learned about tank building is that you can see on the treads here, the treads that come with this kit are of course made out of vinyl. They make aftermarket ones that are made in sections that you build a piece at a time, so they're a lot more flexible, and you can pose them, if you want to say that, a lot different. But what happens is when you use vinyl tread, you're going to have this issue where the tread's going to be fairly tight, and it's going to be pulled straight across here, and you're not going to have this droop that you need. Real tanks, they had a little bit of slack in the tread, so that when they were parked, especially, that you'd see it drooping down and laying right on top of the road wheels like this. Well, that's a real pet peeve with a lot of the armor tank building guys. If you don't, if your treads don't look right, to them the whole tank doesn't look right. So, looking at a couple of different videos out there, I found a couple of really cool tips, and one of them was that I just took a couple of these. These are just paintbrushes of the different thicknesses before I put the fenders on, and I just stuck them in there, and they pushed the tread down against the bogies and the road wheels there, and got them real tight against the sprockets and all that. And then I just took my heat gun and lightly heated that up, and then they kind of stretched out a little bit, and I left these stuck in there like that overnight. And when I pulled everything out, this is how it looks now. That was a tip from one of the modelers out there that does a lot of tank building, and it worked out really, really great. It made a big difference. I was thinking about maybe I was going to have to glue them, but didn't have to do that after all, so they came out real nice. You can see we got the spare tread up here in the front, again using some of this rust medium, and then I used some artist chalks, different colors here. This color here was kind of the main one that I used. It's a medium brown. I have a whole set of these artist chalks in these earth tone colors, and I would just grind them up and just take my brush and just kind of smear it on here and there. And then sometimes I would put it in my little pump bottle that I have, my little atomizer bottle that you guys have seen me use for doing carpet flocking and all that, and I just mist it on here and there, and then I'd put a little bit of dull coat over the top of it if it got too strong, and it would kind of reabsorb it and bring it back down a little bit. But so that's what we did for most of the weathering on this. Something you're really not going to be able to see, but you'll probably be able to notice it in some of the still pictures that I'm going to show this here at the end. I took my solder gun and I turned it down on a really low setting. I practiced on some scrap pieces of styrene first, but I put little scrapes and chips in the armor on this thing. If you look at the box art on this, you'll notice that around the this plating right here, I forget what this is called, the mandible or mandible or something like that. There were some gouges in the armor and everything, and up here on the front and on the sides of the hull where they had the main armor belt. I did that all the way around on the model, and they're very subtle, but they really make a big difference on how realistic the tank looks, because I think some of it's a little bit of it was supposed to be like battle damage, and a little bit of it is basic flaws in the when they cast the armor, when they forged it or however it's made. And so that really makes a big difference too on how realistic it looks, and it doesn't look just like a plastic model. And again, a little bit of practice with that. You don't want to make them too deep, you just barely. In fact, I had it so low, the solder iron so low, and I used a really fine, I have this little fine tip on there. I had it so low that you had to actually hold it there for a second or two before it would even do anything. I didn't want it to, melt right away, because I, didn't want to have them come out too deep. And what it did is it left a little bit of a sort of a divot or a wave of plastic that was high around that. So I just took some 600 grit sandpaper and lightly scuffed it all down before I painted it and everything, and that made it look just like I was hoping for. So that came out really good. So there you go, guys. There's how the tank's looking so far. Like I said, we've got just a small little handful of detail parts to go on this right now. A couple toolboxes and a little winch that goes on the back part here. So I'm going to get these parts cleaned up, and we're going to reposition the camera here and show you guys the last bits of these parts going on. We'll add a little bit of weathering on those. That's one thing I found out too, is that a lot of the guys, they paint the tank, you know, in the main color, and then they go ahead and they paint everything, you know, all the details and everything, and the weathering and the wash and everything, you know, once everything is already on the model, which I thought was interesting. That's definitely different than the way I usually build everything. I usually, you know, pre-paint everything, and but you can get away with that on a you know, armor or a tank like this, because everything doesn't have to be perfectly crisp. You know, you're blending a lot of things together with your weathering and stuff like that, so you can get away with it. If you're doing a car or, you know, starships and stuff like that, you have to paint everything, and everything has to look pristine, you know, so you really can't do it that way on that type of a build, but you can, you know, take a completely different approach on a tank like this. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to put all of our pieces on them. We're going to weather them and touch them up while they're on the tank. So let me take a quick break. I'll move the camera up higher where you guys can see me working, and then we'll get this Tiger 1 kit all finished up here today. Be right back. Okay, here we are getting ready to put our final little detail parts on our Tiger 1. I've got a little winch assembly here, like a jack winch. We've got a couple toolboxes. We've got a little crank assembly here, and whatever this little piece here that goes in between the two exhausts. So let's go ahead and get this stuff put on. I'm going to put the jack winch on here first. Hopefully I'll keep this in the camera shot for you guys here. Got these two little holes right here that this mounts onto. I got too far on that. Let's go try this again. Okay, that fits up in there nice and tight like that. And then we've got this little crank that goes in the bottom. Interesting, they carried a lot of accessories and tools with them. They did a lot of repairing out in the field and stuff like that. Reading and learning about these tank crews and everything, these, especially the crews that were selected for the Tiger tanks, they were the best of the best, both from the commander and the you know, every single crew member. They had to really know what they were doing, because they were used in their most what they figured was the most important stuff. The Tiger tanks, there weren't that many of them. I think there were only a total of 200 or so, or less, of these early versions that were built. Get that to get down in there. There we go. Okay, that's in place. Got a little toolbox here up in the corner. And I think we're just about done. We got one more part after that that goes in the back. Should be able to get this with the fingers here. There we go. Okay, and this piece here that goes up in the center there, just have a look at the instructions on that. Okay, it looks like it goes on like that. Alright, let's put a little glue on this guy. Somebody out there probably knows exactly what this thing is. I have no idea myself. It's kind of a booger getting it in there just right. Oops. If you don't get it the first or second time, you're going to have to re-glue it because I'm putting so little amount of glue on there. That's it. Maybe if I stand this thing up, it's going to be a little easier here. There. Okay, got that put on there. A little difficulty, but not too bad. And then let's swing around here to the front and get the last little bit put on here, which is our little toolbox. Or maybe it's an ammo container, I'm not sure what it is. Made a practice run on this and it went down there the first try, but of course not the second time. There, I got it that time. Didn't line up on the pegs just right the first time. Okay, so let me get you just a little bit closer to this. You can see that we just added that little toolbox there. We've got our little details here on the back, and you can see they obviously don't look right because they're the original base color that I painted the model with, which is that sort of medium to medium dark gray. So we've got to do a little bit of weathering on these now to bring them in, and a wash. So I've got a little bit of black wash that I mixed up here. I'm going to go ahead and just take that and put that down first, following the same method that these guys use that I've been watching on these YouTube videos about these guys are building some beautiful tanks and armor. I mean, they go all out on some of these ones that I've been watching, and I'm just getting started on these, and I really enjoy working on them. There's a lot of detail you get to put into it, so that's always fun. But this is the way they do it. They basically go and do all this stuff after the model is assembled. Like I said, you can kind of get away with it because it doesn't have to be perfect. Everything is going to be, weathered down and everything. So I'll go up here to the front and do our little box. Alright, I'm going to take and use a little bit of water on my brush now and just kind of thin this down just a little. Don't want it to be too strong on there, we don't want it to look black. Okay, pretty good. exhaust. I had that looking just the way I wanted it to. Pretty sooty looking. Yeah, the diesels, they put out a lot of sludge. Okay, pretty happy with that. Get rid of some of the excess water off of here. Now I'm just getting the, I have to get a paper towel here real quick, guys. Get my paintbrush dried off here, and then I'll use my paintbrush to soak up this excess water here. Alright, let's go back over here and see how that looks. Pretty good. Okay, so that's our initial step. So now what I'm going to do is take some of this artist chalk, and it's actually a good thing that my stuff is just a little bit wet here still. And I've got this fan type brush. Let me back up just in case we're getting out of picture here. Hopefully we didn't. Okay, I've got this little fan type brush, and I'm just going to dab this on here. Don't have to be super careful, just get it on there like something like that. Now we do want to tighten up here. Let me show you how this looks right now. Worked on this little area right here. Okay, we're going to let that sit for a second. Now, as I mentioned, being a little bit wet, that's fine because our chalk is going to stick to that really good right now. So now I'm just putting it in here on these little parts we just finished. You know, on the back of the tank, that's where everything sort of gets thick. You know, it starts to get caked on there. That's where everything gets kicked up, and so I'm definitely doing a little bit heavier back here. You see, I'm being very generous with this stuff. Not worrying about it just yet. Get it on there real good. I think our little wench on the bottom needs a little bit more black wash. Find a brush here. It still looks a little bit too light. There we go. That brought it down. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the dust while it's still wet. Much better. Okay, get the excess off of our exhaust here. A little bit more on this piece here. Yeah, that also needs a little bit more black wash, I believe. That can have a little bit of grease and oil stain on it too, you know, like the exhaust was kind of getting on that a little bit here too. That's fine. Okay, let's get this. Just a little bit more here and we should have it. Okay, then I'm just kind of right now, I just cleared my brush there, and I'm just kind of whisking off the excess that I don't want on there right now. Pretty straightforward. And I'm going to take my compressed air here very lightly. Blow that off of there. Now we want to kind of rub it in here on the top here a little bit. Okay, I'm happy with that, guys. So that was the last of our parts. Back up again here. That's the last of our parts that went on the kit. I'm going to go ahead and finish up by sealing this all up with a little bit of my Tester's dull coat here. And then we're going to come back and show you the final result, and then we'll have a little slideshow at the end showing the little bit closer detail shots of the model. Real happy with it though, guys. Came out real nice. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Be right back. We are back, everybody, with the finale of our 1/35 scale Tiger 1 tank kit by Tamiya. Had a lot of fun working on this one. Learned a little bit about armor. We finished up here by putting on our last few little detail bits there on the back part and on the toolbox here up on the front. And so this was an enjoyable build. Again, a great little kit with being pretty much box stock. I'm really happy with this. Of course, you can take these kits to a whole new level if you want to add photo etch and the metal gun barrel and the different tracks and all that. So if you're an armor guy, there's a lot of stuff out there now that you can take these tank builds and just, you know, absolutely super detail them, and there's more and more kits coming out, so it's a great time if you're into armor. I learned a little bit, like I said, going around watching some of the different videos, saw some great tips. So if you're a beginner to this, just have a look on YouTube and you can find some really good information out there from these guys that have been building these models for years, and they can tell you about, you know, how to paint them, how to detail them, what's accurate on them, all kinds of stuff like that. So some great information out there. And we learned a little bit about our weathering and all that. We used our artist chalk, some oils, you know, and some of that little rust pigment that I have, and it just turned out really nice. I'm real pleased with it. Just want to say a final shout out here to Kenny May for putting together this tribute build for Chris Cortell, and of course Chris himself. Chris has been a big inspiration. His YouTube channel, Classic Plastic 101, is one of my favorite YouTube channels. I've been watching it since I've been on YouTube, probably for the past 4 or 5 years. Chris has got hundreds of videos on there, sharing everything from painting tips to assembly, and just really clever little stuff that Chris comes up with for helping you have a better modeling experience, and he's always very upfront about it and very friendly. So it's just thanks to his videos and Chris's personality and everything, and his willingness to share, I've had a really nice modeling experience myself, learning new things that I didn't know before, and thanks to his tips and everything, helping me turn my models out just a little bit better. So really appreciate that, Chris, and here's to many, many more years of you doing that. We look forward to having you around the community for a long time, and can't wait to see what you're working on next. You never know with Chris. He's always got something really exciting going on, so I encourage you guys to check out his channel. That's Classic Plastic 101 if you haven't done so already, and you won't be sorry that you did. He's got some fantastic stuff going on over there. Well, that's a wrap, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this one. Probably won't see a much more armor on this channel here for a while. Like I said, I'm just kind of dabbling in it. I got my Tiger and I got my Sherman now, so I'm happy for a while. Going to be coming back with another ship build here. I'm going to be doing the 1/350 scale HMS Hood, and then of course we're going to have some sci-fi stuff going on the bench. Going to get our 1/350 scale Reliant back here pretty soon from Elliott Brown, get our photo etch stuff ready to go for that, and get back to work on that too. So some interesting stuff coming up here on the channel as well. You guys take care out there. Until we see you next time, happy modeling, everyone.